budget,
especially, yeah.
do a job and or the district budget behind. The one whole chapter.
Yeah. Okay, so
It's nice handwritten.
because it's part of the budget. It's a line item in the budget.
Yeah. No, it's not line item.
Line item in the budget.
No,
But
because it's a fire district.
I thought it was a line item in the budget.
I don't think so. I'd have to look again. Whatever it's been is how it is.
That's pretty neat. There's a laptop. Why I learned doing that out front. Oh, yeah. Right, so they kind of insurance. So they're not. I was a professional, but yeah.
I thought like you would just do it.
Every now and then, when I'm changing the meeting.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing back to amend the committee approval and request administration for Cobra. I had misunderstood how to word the agenda block the last time, so I had it in there that it wouldn't exceed $5,000 for the contract, but the contract is 5 years. So our rates are locked in for 5 years, so I'm just bringing it back to increase that to $25,000 for the length of the 5 years. So I'm estimating between 3,000 and 5,000 each year.
Move it.
Motion by Supervisor Davis, any questions on this? You're not all in favor,
All right.
opposed. Carried.
The update on open enrollment for health insurance, so we did expect it for a couple of days. I am at probably 85% completed. I have about 140 people out there that haven't completed their open enrollment. Which is important because I don't have waivers for electronic signatures on everybody. And it's roughly like 20 people on the side of the county and maybe like 120 people on the hospital side.
The email if you could.
Yeah.
So you guys have to
So
go-
it just helps us, I mean, like, it keeps us in compliance because when you're logged into your account, you see our summary of benefits, which by law we have to share with our members. I just keep reaching out to senior management at the hospital to remind them that their employees need to go in and log in and go through the process, but I'm just unsure as to how much longer I should really keep it open, because now I just have stragglers. So,
Do I handle this from my department?
you do.
I want to try that area and I'll reach out individually.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't done the sexual harassment thing either. I didn't even.
Me neither.
Mine last week.
Did you get in?
So.
Yes.
I had, been able to get in.
I had to go in through Microsoft.
We've gotten good feedback. from
Should go in through
members,
Firefox.
And I
so
did.
push back on it, but once they go in.
Sorry, it's
like,
like,
oh,
didn't work.
it is.
I couldn't get it to munch in Firefox.
That's-
I have,
You know, I'm gonna. nothing to-
not that I've tried too often, I tried it once or twice, and I couldn't get in either time.
Yeah, for demo open enrollment.
Mhm.
Because, we want
But I couldn't
either
get through
sign
Firefox.
enrollment forms or waivers on everybody. And then next year for health insurance, we'll treat it like you do normally for open enrollment with the like spot enrollment. So if you had no changes, you don't have to log back into your account. But this way we know we're compliant with what we need from our employee.
Okay, any questions for Tracy? Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good morning, I have a short rest today too. Right? So number one is another continuation of the ACS contracts. Just give a little background, we were supposed to go live a few weeks back, and there were a couple of small pieces that, you know, the team was not comfortable moving forward on. When asked to do this, like we asked if we could push this time frame back a week or two for Munis, like if we could push our go live back a week or two. And we're basically told that that is not possible. We cannot do that. Their next time frame is basically the first of the year. And they don't have the resources for us to change our timeline like that. So what led to a little hiccup led to a large setback on their end. But everyone on the team was kind of happy with the fact that now we'll have more time to run parallels and make sure all their pieces are better configured to go on. So I mean, I guess there's some silver lining there.
So, I did talk with Ms. Carter and. I'm blanking on that. Jen. And, yeah, this switch over now. At the end of the year, everything had to be changed. They're putting both to, get all that information in both systems. The entire year, draw them there to compare apples to apples, so. Wait until the first of the year. Also another contract with, or, yeah. It's, I see no anything around, so.
What we're talking about is reading the payroll record for year 2022. So that we can issue the end of year tax statements to the employees, which would, requires the loading of the entire year's payroll record. And if we were to do it both in ACS and in Munis, we would have to do the double load manually. And obviously they have to be perfectly identical and it's all manual. So that's the first half of this. And if we begin it in January 1st, obviously we then only have to worry about 2023 tax year in the single system. So that's sort of the lighting that you're talking about. The second half of this is the historical that we've talked about here before, which is all the employment records for all towns, villages, school districts, employees, ex-employees, blah, blah, blah. That is necessary. We still don't have that completely resolved yet either. And we cannot lose that at all. That's rather, this is everyone's pension records. Disasters. And we've been talking about that for months, and that's still done in ACS/Munis yet. So I'm not going to relinquish this until I'm absolutely certain that that critical data is preserved.
And that has been a slow go to get those records or that database file with them. I've been waiting up until last week for them. I don't know if they were figuring out how that process works on their end, or maybe it's an enormous amount of data, like Dan's mentioned before, just getting it to work. But they are finally ready to move forward with that. But like you said, this has been months in the works, just waiting. So,
And I'm not going to sign off until I'm absolutely certain that we've captured everything and it's a workable database and we use it going forward, because once it's lost, it's lost.
So I know there's no money for this, so. I have to do something. The next,
We need to do an appropriation, right? We all need to do an appropriation, right?
to do something.
How long are we talking about extending?
Just till March. It's 1 quarter,
Yes.
41,539.
I'll take the over, not the other.
Yeah, we have 3 months now. Hey. Any discussion? Motion. And motion is to raise the grant.
What you can do. Another.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carries. Number 2.
So number 2 is a professional service contract with Matrix Communications. They're a phone vendor, if you will. They service the PBX system or the phone system at the Ag Center that we have over there. This is just a contract, and actually, the dates are wrong. It should be through December of this year. So you could put December 31st, 2022. That would be accurate. And we'll do a contract next year. Basically, they are the company that has set up and manages when we need large changes in that building, so building codes or not buildings and grounds, that's anything like that. This company makes the changes in that system, so. So this is the previous work that we've already had done basically to cover us in that window.
Questions?
Are you setting one up for 2020?
Yeah, we'll have to bring a new one back for 2023, so I reached out to the vendor to get an actual contract, so.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carries.
So the last one is a small contract for Lenstar, with our ID machine that we ended up buying last year. It has a new perpetual yearly license that I didn't know about, until this year. When it stopped working, it was never really discussed when we purchased the product. But this is just for that contract for the license, if you will, to run that ID machine, so.
Question on this one?
That's the one that makes up the cards.
Correct, yep. It makes all the cards for the county employees down here, not the hospital, but public safety uses it, we use it for all kinds of employees.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah, so this I had to do, this was kind of like an emergency purchase, it stopped working. And we didn't know why, it gave us an error, so I called the company and said, hey, what's going on? It's a brand new machine, they're like, oh, you need to have this whatever license, and they also sell maintenance, which is completely different. So after a little bit of back and forth, we figured out that we needed this yearly license for the machine just to operate.
So we're in.
Any questions? Do you have anything more? Welcome.
Not for now.
Any questions for Bill?
Thanks.
One more time.
So our bill things and financial statement attached, yeah, we hit our bill tax budget, the 20 million is past November, haven't gotten anything for December. Good news there, interest is amazing, we're still hovering a little under 4%, Bank of Castile wanted us back, so they gave me almost 5% interest on a couple things, so lots of money up there with them for a year.
Any questions about the sales tax or investment reports? Do
This is for Vanesky Company. New contract, 14,000 a year still, that's for the cost allocation plan, hasn't changed since 2011. The good response. Yeah, 3-year contract.
Questions on this one?
Question.
May. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. Number 3. Any discussions regarding potential rollout of your trust?
I was approached by, actually, an ISAC, I never got to touch base with Tony, I think it's, yeah, Tony. So he emailed me about, enrolling with the New York Unit Trust, which is a similar type that we are already in. I did attach some of their information, they're about the same as your class, interest rate and everything. The only ones, the minimum balance, I think it's Excelsior plan, but they have this, yeah. And my unit trust Excelsior, which is specific for counties, so it's like the New York class prime. So I met with him next week. I'm gonna get on for a tutorial of their portal. I don't know if anybody was currently using them in their towns, or had any good or bad things to say about it. It seems pretty similar. All we were doing really would be diversify our investments. So,
When you get to a point, all we need to do is update your investment policy. Be good to go, so.
So I told her I just wanted to see their portal just because our class is very easy to use, so. We need to get the money in the same day when I actually make sure that that's easy, so. We'll be looking into that within next week. He did give me the product sheet, give me contract, a bunch of things to look at, so. Nobody get any bigger than about it.
Yeah, this is, I was approached at Intercounty by Steve Florio in Monton, the treasurer's information, so they could contact her. But yeah, this is another NISAC program that they're pushing.
Sponsored.
Yep.
Endorsed.
Indoor, yeah. So he was wanting information so that they could contact and,
Always makes me feel a little better because they have the time to at least look into it a little deeper. Then like when they say,
Yeah.
they're not all for us.
Yeah.
Lines, what we're doing.
yeah, they just, want to be able to try to sell their product to us.
Robin, is there any advantage, you got two of them that's similar, but if you had all your money in one, it's an advantage to get a little bit of interest rate.
Seems really, really similar to each other. I don't, that's what I asked, I said, what's the point of using you and.
Right. Right, we could,
Yeah.
but
What's the advantage?
see, they only had $50,000 or $100,000, say you had, $250,000 to invest, you better put it in one spot and put 100 in one and 150 in the other, or something like that.
They said, contour and stuff like diversification. So if you want them, but you diversified, things like that, so to keep. Started, put the minimum in and just.
It's amazing how the banks can offer nothing until you start pulling your money.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, well, why didn't you just give me that to begin with?
Yeah.
Fairly invested in other places, we did have a subsidy come out, at the end of last year, so
I just got
that's all.
3.85 on
That's coming out.
90-day CD
So,
by the time. Because I was gonna move
I told them I would bring.
in your class.
Talk about it, and they're not pressure or anything.
Their initial offer,
I didn't.
0.6. Yeah. Cool.
Never heard.
2%.
Not looking.
Kind of wonder why am I doing business? They're gonna be there for that.
You can do that tomorrow. I used to do it. You know, buy a house next year.
Yes, I do not have an update on it.
Okay.
I did email Mason in the last week and asked him. What are we still waiting on? They were waiting on the confirmation of publishing, what they needed to publish with the TV daily. They were asking me where it, I have received it yet, and I said, well, if you want me to send somebody to the TV to pick it up. So you do, because I would be more than happy to. So that was the end of last year, we hoping again to see.
Any other questions for Robin?
22 more pages.
Let's go. Moving along.
There you are.
This one will go quickly too.
25 minutes to get through 2 pages.
Hospitals.
Morning.
Yeah. Morning.
Page 3, number 1.
So first thing, my greenhouse has been trying to get through all expenses so that it can be certified. The New York State hasn't offered the farm appraisal plans yet. And so I'm asking her to be appointed acting assessor. It's resignation from the time ago. Like it's like.
You guys, I'm not convinced that this board needs to make that designation because in the county program, I believe.
Okay, then, so how can I get a resolution sent here and state?
Yeah, we've done it.
But because it's a county program and Sarah is the department head. And then the town's contract with the county to provide services. The department head has the authority to make the appointment.
But if she needs a resolution, you have to.
But does she need a resolution?
Yeah, New York State requires a resolution to be sent to them. Otherwise, they won't designate him as acting assessor. So we won't have access to your IDPs, can't legally sign the role. You can't have to get something right in your bar.
And they understand that it's a county-wide program, right?
It's there where it's 53%.
Any more questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And he's been working on his revale in Pike.
Yes,
Because I had a neighbor ask me, goes, what's Don Roberts doing out there in front of my house? And I'm like, I don't believe it's Don Roberts. He said, I think it's a tax assessor. I think we're going through a revale. Oh, that's even better.
you can compare it to the car, we haven't had to have to remove code enforcement. That's probably kind of. That's.
You didn't put a big assessment thing outside of it.
We did not. Wasn't in the budget, unfortunately. Okay. Number 2, every year we just have the. Application is like a sign.
Number 2. Okay. Any questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. 3.
3, I do current over $1,000. So they're not on this, at some point during the year.
Questions on this? Motion. That's Supervisor Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 4, appropriation.
So this is an appropriation for $2,200 for any funds available. We combed through the budget and worked on the social work. And salary increases. From the. Work the budget out and there's nowhere, everything's designated.
Question on this? Motion by Whitaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 5, your updates.
So we have begun doing the parcel coverage migration, and a little bit of an issue with S3 as far as scheduling is concerned, but things are moving forward. So we said issue every year. Information for you. Next is other information been sent out for all the tax collectors. We've heard back from everyone, with the exception of Becky Smith. So if you could just maybe give her a call in at some point and let her know we're looking for your information for Middlebury. And then the water levels have been received as well, and also for Janice.
So we're on our way to. That's
I'm sorry, Sarah, I didn't,
great.
I heard Deb Smith in Middlebury.
Yes, so we've heard back from everyone except for Deb. I know she was really good email, so you could just have her call the office and look at that.
We'll do it.
Question on GIS? Anything else? Any questions for Sarah? There. Thank you.
Can I see your budget?
Moving on.
Oh, yeah.
Top page 4. Janet.
I didn't see it.
If you can hear more. Number 1.
This is the annual GFOA conference, typically carpool with someone from state and Durham, so you get a discount if you. Sign up.
Representative? For the bridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 2.
This is the resolution that levies on the town taxes and the water sewer levies. Which I got yesterday and chance to.
Questions? And. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. 3.
This is to appropriate with ARPA funding. $190,000 for the phase 1 GIS project that was discussed at Public Works. This is to pay for survey and engineering. So that we can get some plans, so it can be reviewed by department.
Yeah.
You have a different name.
Questions?
On a side note, after appropriating this, we have roughly $19,000 left in our funding that hasn't been committed. I believe we have to the end of 25, so it has to be committed by 24. Because I know Mike had a couple of things that might drag out, so I ensure that that's the there is the additional funds that we drew down. So I don't remember how much that was. I think we 200,000 something. I gotta look into seeing what the reporting requirements are for that, it's on my list. But I feel like hopefully we can use some of that to pay for the ACS extension, because it's not in any of our plans, that ACS extension, so that would be what I will mostly propose, but I have to do.
You are limited to what you can spend it on.
Yes and no.
I think I can figure out a way to make it everything acceptable. I'm sure you are. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, sure, I had it.
We'll make it look like it goes.
So,
Okay.
um,
Any more discussion on this one? The motion is resurrect. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right.
all right.
And with 4 to 9, these are all.
4 through 9, are all of the healthcare bonuses that were, the employees applied for to the state and got paid. We already have the money, already been received, so we just need to appropriate the money because this is something budgets.
Any questions on this?
Leaving yourself.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
25% only through the.
Anything else? Yeah.
One of the things I do want to mention, I know every year Sarah puts, the tax exemption, the exemption impacted report in your mailboxes. Those are required to be adopted with your budgets. I know I talked to several of you, and it makes me a little nervous that they're not with your adopted budget because those are required to be adopted with your budgets. So next year, be looking for it. I've been kind of following everybody for a few years, but really need to be, it needs to be a part of your budget to be adopted. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can ask me later. I think that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Janice? Move on, page 6, work report.
Acceptance board. Spelled 71204. Program to have rate. Yep. Number 1 is the money in, number 2 is the money out.
Number 3 is appropriation.
And number 3 is an appropriation to show up for sheriff, yep.
Any questions on the motion?
I'll make it.
Motion by Supervisor May for 1, 2, and 3. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carries. Report appropriation.
This is to cover a claim from 2013. Make the motion for that one too.
Motion by Supervisor May. Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? That carries. Page 7. Town revenue resolution, $40,000. Any questions on this?
That's money.
The projects that are going there.
All I can figure is NDEC. Because their mortgage tax last month was pretty big too.
Mhm.
I think it's a. Brings you back to your correct about it. All right, we got a motion by Supervisor Brett. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. 6. Chairman to. The understanding of the contract agency.
You can just start with that too.
Dave. Anybody got any questions on 6 and 7?
How come Crawford Extension is considered a contract agency?
They are, I'm just gonna be separating them. I wouldn't have to, I suppose, but I just always have.
Didn't you separate them the one year when we made changes to their contract about?
Maybe.
I think it used to be, but then I think we separated it out.
We're still a contract agency.
Yeah.
Same.
It's a little higher.
Any questions on 6 and 7?
We'll make it.
It's the right minute. And 7. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 8, reminder. We need to do our sexual oriented training online.
Somebody send me the link again.
Yeah, me too. Dan,
No.
Can you send me the link, please, again, for the harassment training?
So they gotta get it. Thank you.
Maybe I can get in. I tried to get in, I couldn't get it to.
I had to go through another search
It does take a good hour.
Get in.
to do,
Longer if you're interrupted as long as.
to do it, not to get in.
And the good news is that the vendor, who works with PEP, is changing training for next year. And it's not gonna be that game show thing. It's gonna be a little different, and it's probably gonna take about half. The other piece of it is it's something about
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it, it's not bad, but.
it's a little repetition.
Why do
And you do have to pay attention because you have to take a quiz.
Ridiculous.
It is.
But you can retake the quiz if you don't do well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the question.
Exactly.
All right, so those of us that haven't done it. We're coming in here. Good. All right. Then we move on to the top page 8, number 9.
No, but we had a discussion regarding the two vehicles, and I think, maybe planning committee chair or, and his committee, we had a bit of a conversation over it too. There's 2 vans. One is a bit nicer than the other. Currently, the red van that came from public health has been assigned to animal control. But then the Water Resource Agency van, the white van with 10,000 miles on it, it's 2013, and a bit nicer. Animal control like that one. So the thought that Brian Becker and I had was to bring it to finance and to make sure that the reallocation of those assets was, the final decision was made by finance. We would like to reassign the red van to buildings and grounds and assign the white van from resource agency to animal control.
I do remember my games at. Saying, he together with either van.
Exactly.
He was one of the vans, so.
This isn't gonna replace the Justice pickup, it's just an addition.
Correct.
So then I don't we have a vehicle to drive.
Right.
I'm assuming they're gonna probably put a
Cage in there or something.
so they can roll call, like our dogs or chill. But an issue, a couple times.
Cages, you pick up 2 animals, but both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, people aren't, being any better with their animals. Got worse, I know that. So is there any more discussion on this? Oh, Jen, motion to order those. Go back to the order. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agreed.
White one.
Just don't get the white one and then she'll turn the red one over to buildings and grounds and I'll let everybody know what's happening.
Number 10, Kellogg's County Resolution titled Opposing Senate Bill S. Senate Bill A.10644. In relation to certain duties and responsibilities of cemetery corporation, it's too financially burdensome. Yeah. Run away, supervisor Diggs.
This was discussed that Intercounty and Niagara County, Cattaraugus County was not there, so this resolution was not brought to the floor, although we did discuss it. So I would like to pass opposition to this. What it actually, I haven't read the bills themselves, but this is what we were told. Excavating a grave, setting concrete vaults, excavating foundations, pouring concrete, monument installation, maintenance and use of heavy machinery would require guidance from a licensed engineer.
We can't afford that.
And there isn't a cemetery in Wyoming County that can afford a licensed engineer.
We're barely hanging on.
Absolutely. So
Yeah,
every cemetery would get turned over to the towns from my understanding.
So
Yeah.
the town would be exempt, these are just the private cemetery.
I think it's all cemetery,
I would imagine there's gonna force towns to do it.
Man,
Or
you know.
even if it doesn't apply to the towns, all the little cemeteries are gonna fold up and now the town's gonna have.
All right, well, we were already government subsidized, but just we did turn them over, and that's within the law, we can do that.
You're gonna get them because we're just, yeah, you can't hardly get anybody to mow now and you can't afford to have them mow.
I'm not exactly sure the sponsors of these bills, what they were thinking. But
Yeah, I talked
I would think it was,
somebody that does.
they're talking.
I think I want to share. Or I want to flood this fight at a budget hearing. People were not happy about it because it's an increase in the levy, because it's all levy to take it over. We're gonna have to take it over, we're gonna hold off as long as we can. But now an additional cost.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I talked with a woman in my town who works for Division of Cemeteries.
yeah,
And she said, there was somebody downstate got killed, I can't remember, if they either fell into an open grave while they were working in the cemetery. Or they were down in there and it caved in on them. So this is gonna fix all of that.
An engineer.
Right, having an engineer there, but, I mean, my town's gonna adopt it at our December board meeting.
oh, it's
You know,
definitely burdensome. I got 5 cemeteries in my town. I don't want to. I'm president of one of them already, just to keep that one going, so it didn't get turned over to the town.
I think Sheldon, 7 or 8.
Fortunately, we had grant money from the wind project that was set up funds for cemetery.
Well,
Well,
That we,
that's another part of the law, that you have to have staff on hand in case somebody's religious or ethnic
well, yeah,
requirements are that they be buried the same day they die.
absolutely.
You have to open the grave that day.
Yes, that's another part of it. I didn't really think that it pertained out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's kind of crazy, but it is what it is, and
So you just didn't have a forum, Jerry?
well, no, they didn't. Intercounty has a requirement that whoever proposes a resolution, they have to be there to explain it. And there was nobody there from Cat County, so it didn't get acted on. So that's basically why I want to move it so that the next intercounty meeting will definitely act on it. Apparently we're kicking out so many engineers out of colleges. They're kind of like an attorney.
Yeah.
They gotta have a job somewhere, so
you're right.
we create jobs for them.
No,
Sorry, Dan.
that deal, which was going back years ago, Joe Gazowski got Tom Reynolds to give appropriate, what, 3 million, 2 million, whatever it was for Middle Reservation, remember that?
Yep.
Federal money. The only stipulation was, had to have 25% of that amount, wasn't it? Had to go to an engineer. The road's already been designed. All we're gonna do is, lay blacktop or fix it. And the county had to spend, $500,000 on engineering, same thing.
Yep.
there's a strong lobby somewhere that's pushing for this.
I'll move it.
Motion by Supervisor Davis. To, make a resolution like Cataracts County did. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Mr. Cole just walked in. We're gonna put off on you number 11. David, come on up. We'll move to. People on.
Morning.
Morning.
Senator Schumer was here. Friday, he was for attendance. But it was, you folks couldn't see the video. It was a good opportunity for us to showcase the hospital, our relationship with the Senate. And I took the opportunity, I think Becky did too, to hold senators, and staff. Ask for assistance, not direct funding, but basically to help us with the governor's office and the Department of Health to get and staffers. So continue to follow up. But I think overall it was we were there, a few of us, but that's not an action. Even RSV, the respiratory viruses, funding and those kind of things, but it's always nice, good opportunity to showcase the good work that we do.
It's my understanding that you gave it today, so.
You know, I need to find that video. Yeah, you did.
It's on the screenshot. My daughter's mother-in-law in Syracuse saw it.
It was on the Today Show Saturday morning. Picture
Yeah,
of
that's
you.
what she,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what she did. She sent that.
We're famous.
for a minute.
For a minute. Watching the movie, and it was only a couple hours, and it was 15 minutes of pain. So we had some good news. I have some good news. Mark, who would be here, Mark Wright, but is just getting back from a few days of vacation with his family. So he's back later today. But we had our best financial month in October year to date. You know, our losses had been operating losses had been in the range of about 1.7, almost to $2.1. So we got the operating loss down to 1.3, and it may not sound like a lot of progress. That's pretty much a Herculean effort to get that loss rate down, given some of the struggles that we have with agency and volumes and all those kind of things. So with the old adage, one month doesn't make a trend, but it's at least a start. We will be closing November in the next week, and we're cautiously optimistic that loss rate to go down. The projection on a loss for 22 is still about $22 million. So that's just operating. It's subsidies from the county and other outside feds and so forth, about 12 to 13 million dollars, but just operation still about. So it was trending. So that's the other, I think, no for optimism is our food release and this the highest in all 10 months so far, which is good. Sure. Inpatient census actually last year, the April health census continues to be strong. It was just sort of is the Surely we got 2 new candidates, one called in the hospital about 10 years. His house actually, first side. Semi-retired general surgeon. Surgeon. Working at hospital. I had specialized in entrance surgery. Well, he's got. And we got a big, overload. So. Special projects. Which Dana and I are meeting Thursday to go through kind of chapter and verse and everything the hospital's doing, and I would invite everybody. Doug has come twice there for an in-depth update, and I think Doug, we said for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we'll do the same with Dan and anyone else who would love to come and get that level of detail. We're certainly happy. But just kind of overall, talk about a number of projects there. So there's 16 main areas, and I think the board's on the university spend. It's going through the project list. All 78 projects are thereabouts, active projects, and then there's a number that are completed now. That number's 22 thereabouts. But it's basically 15 main areas that we're working. And this includes all parts of the hospital, nursing home, mental health, and physician clinics. Of those, I mentioned 78 projects are ongoing, and there's an additional 20 thereabouts that are completed. The main areas are workforce planning, finance and funding, clinical integration, provider improvement, which I talked about, surgical services, case management, structuring of service lines, contract assessments, revenue growth, inventory, supply chain structure, safety and IT. That's another one. So every one of those has an executive sponsor and status updates that we track every week at our senior leadership meeting. Just to kind of make this group aware of the amount of work that's ongoing, and it's a lot of work. But we are making progress. They seem to be a little bit slow at times, but we are. I noted by the problems. A couple of updates on regulatory. We had a joint commission for an unannounced survey in November 3rd and 4th 2 days. One was to look at our dialysis operation in Morris, which got a clean bill out, got approved, no finding at all, but that's good news. The second reason for their survey complaint by someone in the hospital about staffing levels. And so the surveyor, very nice surveyor, very thorough. She had 20 staff people with the records, policies, hours in a very small rural hospital. And she gave us conditional findings. What are known as conditional findings? When the Joint Commission, everybody knows what the Joint Commission is, correct? They're the leading authority of the federal government. You have to get approval from the Joint Commission in order to receive Medicaid funding. So these conditional findings, where the Joint Commission comes out and surveys the hospital, on average over the last 10 years, 50 state condition. It's just, they're going to come out, they're going to spend the effort, they're going to find something. And they can always find something. So we got 3 conditional findings related to staffing levels and related specifically to behavioral health. And because we are a regional referral center for behavioral health, because we have a commission, we take these folks that they have a medical condition, but they also may have a psychiatric condition and they have an underlying substance use issue. And it's just very difficult to care for these folks in medical setting. And not a lockdown behavioral health.
So the one patient in question was, the geriatric, second patient, elderly person, very confused, cognitive impairment, so that required what's known as a sitter or one, 24 hours a day. Some of the staff, incorrectly pulling this individual sitter into staffing and go back and sitting activities and so on, which is a no-no. So John and James and the new CNO have addressed this issue. We've written our policies on staffing and time funds. And the Joint Commission will come back momentarily in the next few days. So we survey us again. And that's just part of the protocol. Close the loop. And we have to submit a plan of correction back to the Joint Commission to satisfy the findings that we received. Does that make sense to everybody? Just given the staffing challenges that rural hospitals have, it's a little frustrating. They have an anonymous complaint in the organization that distracts us from our mission, our turnaround efforts to have to do this. So it's just a little bit frustrating. And they dropped us a bill for $4,000. They're showing up at our house. Here again. Yeah, outpatient clinics, a lot of work going on there. Details, but it's the same thing we're working for. Contract negotiations with all our payers, Blue Cross, and so forth, that include our increase in revenue just from the commercial side. This isn't Medicare. Just on the commercial side, will be more than $1 million starting January. So those increases are already being physician recruitment, we talked about that. Dr. Allen had told conventional pain physician that will be joining us in the next few months. For you folks that know about interventional pain, that's basically if you have chronic back pain, it's not medications, narcotics involved, not allowing any narcotics on campus, but it's a pain. Basically, it's a shock and can be chronic pain significant for folks that are. So this gentleman will and probably we'll have 2 clinic days a month, see patients in the office and blocks together half of the day. And Dr. Holman is a cardiologist. For those that know Dr. Holman, he's been employed in the General Physicians Group, Kaleida, for the last several years. He has resigned from General Physicians and will be joining the hospital full-time as cardiologist. He's the only cardiologist in the entire county of Wyoming, and there's a huge team of cardiology support. So glad that he wants to join us. It is on the list of requests to make contract requests. And that's all. I think that's it for physician recruiting. I will note our obstetrical program. We have 2 will be doing Dr. Maya and Dr. Holm, Dr. Here, which is on town. I represent them. We will provide. So marketing hopefully continue to see ads for the hospital. In the Penn State newspapers, billboards, and so forth. We are very we're trying very hard to change the perception of the health system and promote our providers to drive business to website is very close to being published. Website. So by the end of the year, that
fresh, modern website system. It's easier to navigate and it's also. I just wanted to mention one last thing. I know that there are behavioral bed locked roles. And basically what that means is that you get patients from surrounding counties, Livingston, Genesee County, Allegheny, August, that they don't have that capability at their facilities, inpatient psychiatric capability. So they send their patients to us. We only have 12 beds, so sometimes these patients will sit in REP or will have medical conditions that them, and it's difficult to care for these folks as I know earlier. So just from 21 to 22, we're in the 20% of our behavioral health patients. That was for last year. 25% from Tennessee, 16% from. Those numbers are relatively consistent with 22. That gives you a little flavor. We have about a quarter of the patients taking these patients from. And that's what's. The places involved over Rochester, they don't have capacity. So they're even trying to send us some of the patients from the city also. That's what we can do to state level. State level, push the state that we're. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a, you know, we're already a sole community of what access provider. Yeah, the state cannot, will never let anything happen to our system. That reason and a number of other reasons. Both services that there's another funding source at the state level. And it's known as an 1115 waiver that basically allows you to take Medicaid funds, match it with the federal government, use that for alternative purposes. And New York, invested very, very heavily. Populations at risk, like served populations, health, addiction, recovery. So in addition to our $25 million ask, we're also going to ask 1115 waiver funding related to behavioral health and RED. Right now, we bring in folks, folks with addiction issues into our general population. It's not always a good thing. You have folks in there with kids with a sore throat, you know, fractured ankle, this and the other, and you've got some lawyers going to meth withdrawal. Sometimes get violent. It's not a good thing to fix those patients. Ideally, we have a separate area in their ER that's locked. You can put those folks with psychiatric issues, keep them safe for themselves and also for patients. That's it.
I have a question, Dave.
Go ahead.
So last week, Tuesday, we had a public hearing for the budget for the county. And I noted Mark was here, but I'm not sure, I don't believe you were present for that. Former treasurer Mayor made a lengthy set of comments regarding the hospital. And it was obviously on YouTube, but it was also reported widely in the Daily News, Batavia Daily News, for 2 consecutive days. Are you familiar with her comments?
Yeah.
You have any response to what she had indicated?
I mean, it was, from what I understand, I wasn't here, but it was her opinion. but it was pretty broad based. Is there anything in particular you want me to respond to?
Well, I mean, she's the former treasurer for the county with a fairly lengthy tenure. So she's well aware of the situation with the hospital. And she was, making a case that, we should not be, we should not have a business enterprise within the county, and that we should be looking for affiliations or some way to potentially sell the hospital. That was her comment, which we can get into more detail later this week, but I'm wondering if you have in any contingency plan those options even under consideration.
Well, as far as affiliations, that's practice years ago here. Smaller places, they affiliated with a system or hospital or support position, coverage, back office support, all those kind of things. You have that to a degree with ECMC, it's very limited. So I wouldn't try to call it an affiliation. It's a relationship, but we're pursuing and dinner with the heads of Strong. They're saying we're looking at everything. Catholics, we have to explore all those potential relationships. And I think you and I spoke about this. It's not a one-way street. It's not just that we send them our tertiary work. We want something in return for that. And we're not getting it. We're not sending anything back. Back office functions.
Just surprised, Dave, that given Treasurer Mayor's comments in the budget hearing, that two supervisors responded. Supervisor Berwanger responded to the news, as did the chairwoman. But you folks were conspicuously quiet.
Nobody asked me.
Okay.
I'm happy to respond. I can talk for a long time. I think the other one about selling, just keeps disrespect. There isn't a hospital or health system in North America that's going to buy a health system due to the funding pension obligations. It's not going to happen, in my opinion. So I don't think that's a pathway for us, but I do think affiliations and exploring those affiliations, it's certainly something that we'll continue to do. And again, it needs to be a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. And, a lot of rural places are intimidated, sometimes by bigger systems. Worked on both sides. Intimidated. We'll talk to anybody, talking to Rochester Region.
Chuck and children's too.
Children's, absolutely. We're in a tough spot, and got to think outside the box. What our whole system is going to look like years from now, 100 years from now, is going to be very different than it's got advice is the big portion here. So that which is evolving right now. Stabilize the organization can't be $20 million sustained business. That's the first thing. And then secondly, what's the pathway forward? We need 2 years of support from the state of New York to work through that. And that's the plan. It's clearly designed and stated. Sir,
Dave, just to dovetail on what Dan has just talked about, what you just spoke about, two-way street with a big system. We've been down that road with Strong. We brought Strong in here, and we're going to give us billing help, back office help, and doctors. We switched over the building, and that turned into a colossal mess. Never got a doctor. They came to the meetings and talked. So you're spot on, and ECMC has been very, very generous in their contribution in this, but that's right. The rest of the drill.
The other point, I don't know whether anybody has watched the news, but Orleans County Nursing Home recently was charged with patient abuse by the state attorney general. That was the nursing home that was owned by the county. You'll all recall.
Yeah.
In years past, there was this big push to unload the county nursing homes because they were such an anchor, financial anchor. Taxpayers, which they are. I had an opportunity, I was at the NICEAC, and I had an opportunity to talk with Nick Mata, who's a retired county administrator of Livingston County, who also is, until now, has served as a director on the 9. We had a lengthy conversation about that situation in Orleans County. And, you know, what about, he said, just picture this scenario, okay? You're out to dinner or in a restaurant, in a grocery store, anywhere, and somebody comes up to you and says, my mother was abused in that nursing home because you sold it to somebody who didn't do the job. That's something to think about this hospital. And the comment was made in the budget hearing by the treasurer that this hospital was built or created for residents of Wyoming County. True, but the residents of Wyoming County aren't the ones who support this hospital. It's a regional. We draw patients from all over. It's unfortunate that we're in the situation we're in. We can't keep looking backwards.
Doug, I mean, you make a good point, but they just talked about referrals from other counties for behavioral health.
Yeah.
It's the residents of and the taxpayers of Wyoming County that subsidize that hospital. It's not the patients that come in from Genesee, Cattaraugus and Livingston County.
But without that, the revenue would be even less.
I don't know what impact those types of services have.
And I'm as I said in the meeting, in the budget hearing, we can't do this again. Another 10 million or whatever it is. I mean, taxpayers aren't going. I didn't have a good result at my town budget hearing. Just on what we're talking about in the town, which is nothing compared to where we are with the county. So, we can't wait until next October to start talking about what we're going to do. And Dave, I respect the fact that you've got a plan and it's going to take a little time, but sooner the better. Yeah.
Can I add a comment? The other day at my OTB board meeting, there was a gentleman from Chautauqua County. Is familiar with all the legislative and everything. And we got to talking about hospitals. And he also said, I think they said there's 4 of them in that county. And they've had the same problems like us. And they have tried to sell them hospitals. No one wants to buy them. Nobody wants to buy them.
Well, think about this. Who wants to buy a hospital that has $40 million?
Right.
Correct.
I mean, that's just unrealistic to think.
Oh,
They're
no.
in the same boat that we are, basically, and it,
The nursing home is doing well.
yeah.
It's doing very well. It's a 5-star quality rated.
The Catholic Center.
I mean, and that didn't happen overnight. That's been going on for the last 20 years.
Well, the other
And at one time, it was a nightmare there.
Yeah.
And I don't hear any complaints about the area. It's just that it's financially
Right,
an anchor. And we've got to get it straight.
but we bring in doctors like, I'm familiar with Dr. Gomez, he's very good. And I'm glad he's coming out full time.
Yeah, and his reason for leaving to follow up was not that us that way. That was just a decision he didn't go with that. So he's what's known as a free agent and cardiologist.
Very nice.
He's a couple of times. So I had dinner with
That is a bright The other things, yes.
we're doing something else. It's called how many gastroenterologist. And as part of that analysis, we're looking at where by zip code, where patients are going to care. It was very surprising how much business is going strong. So, and guys, they're not lifting a finger, they're not spending.
Right.
It's just companies that.
Reputation.
Why buy a cow, they're gonna milk for free. So there they go. Why would they buy us? Why would they spend any money? There's nobody to buy. Our leakage is still about 70% of the residents of Wyoming County go elsewhere. We need to get that number to about 60 and 50% and we'll be fine. That's thousands of admissions and cases and treatments, surgeries and so forth. That's why all of this, we got to change the perception of the hospital, we got to recruit some good providers, folks that are normal, decent quality, decent care. It's not a huge bar. We don't need world-class surgeons, you know. So, but by the way, the other thing I would just note, Cleveland Clinic just lost $1.5 billion for the last year. So it's not just us. It's every, and I shared this with the board. Rural hospitals across the country are being decimated. They're all losing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think the last number I sent you guys that heard was about 40% of rural hospitals are at risk of closure in the next 5 years. 40, yeah, I thought it was more than that, but I think good or bad, New York alone, there are 40 to 50 rural hospitals. I know. So there's, you know, I don't know if there's any solace, take any solace in that, but you know, we're not alone in this challenge. Any other questions?
Dave spoke at Rotary about this, so, and I was mentioned by some other members who were there. He informed everybody what was going on, you know, and they were a little easier about us giving them $8 million. As Dave explained how everything was happening, so it was a good thing for him and a good thing for us, for him to do that. Probably 50 people heard it.
It was a full house. Yeah. It was a great opportunity. I'm happy to speak. You know, Dan, if somebody asked me to give a comment on what was said last week, I would have been happy to, but this wasn't asked to me. Where it was.
Can I make one comment? I called Dave yesterday in regards to checking into a situation for me, and he called me right back this morning before I got here. And he's working on a situation. It has to do with a nursing home, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fast response. Thank you.
I just like to hear your comment, Dan, that sometimes I look at it, sometimes it's better not to reply, especially maybe in this situation. If will it just be a put fire, fuel to a fire, and then a counter? You know what I mean? If we reply, well.
Sure. I would agree with you under most circumstances, Sandy, except this was the former treasurer
And that's
of
why
the
I'm
county,
saying
and
maybe that's not always.
well, if she didn't know the makeup of the county, I don't know who does, you know? So,
Just want to add this, I'm very happy that this board did not sell the nursing home. I don't want 20 years to be honest. I don't want somebody saying they should have never sold the hospital,
That's right.
Yeah.
but not that they're going to sell it.
Or close it.
I mean,
I think we're pretty much all agreed on that. The statement I want to make is, you know, we do this Chamber of Commerce, do this, you know, small business Saturday and shop local and all sorts of stuff. I'll throw this at you, maybe this is something that the hospital should be, you know, pushing the small community, support your local community, support the neighbors, your friends, your family that are working down here, because it is the largest supporter in the county. And like you said, 70% of patients in this county are leaving to other facilities. When we technically all have a stake in this facility. It's like working for corn and go buy a ship. I mean, you know, They don't do that. We're staying, we're stockholders in the.
I guess maybe the point would be. Okay, we understand that the average taxpayer, I mean, this is the message. You may be going someplace else. But you're paying here.
Well, I mean, there's two sides to this argument.
Yeah.
If you want acute care, as those two guys who cracked up into the Warsaw elementary school, you're gonna get airlifted to Rochester, you're gonna get airlifted to ECMC. We don't have acute care. So when the chairwoman sits there and says we save lives, those lives would have been, where were they gonna be saved? They're gonna be saved in ECMC or Strong. They have no skin in it. They're gonna accept those patients because they have trauma centers. We can't do acute care in this hospital. So, Brian, we will always be limited in the services that we can provide. No cardiac, no neurology, right? No cancer treatment, no, and no acute care. We can do routine types of surgeries, orthopedics, things of that nature. The big question is whether or not those will be sufficient to support that facility down the road. Because at the end of the day, it's all taxpayer money that's going into it.
If I had all taxpayer.
Well, a good chunk.
If I could correct you on that, we are acute care. The patients that were the two folks in that accident, that was trauma. And there is no rural place in North America that does trauma. Nobody does trauma. That's very, very complex in the rules and the licensure around that.
Absolutely.
That was my understanding.
Well, I mean, they're in stable condition in those facilities,
So I'm just telling you, we are an acute care hospital.
but they didn't come to your facility.
I know because I believe they were. We don't do trauma. Someone's in a bad car accident, brain bleeding, gunshot, they're always going to get shipped out. When I was in Olean, shipped out, Bradford shipped out, Portland shipped out. No one in a rural area can handle those things. You need 20% neurosurgery on call, you need invasive cardiac, all kinds of different things. Just we can't afford that. The big trauma centers, like Buffalo General and Strong, that's where they go. The other ones, we do have radiology services, we do have neurology services. So I think there's a misunderstanding or misapprehension about what services can be provided here and which one can't. But you're spot on, it's basic services, it's primary care, outpatient, it's basic acute care. So if you've got appendicitis or a gallstone, hernia, you need a knee replaced or all those kind of things, or you need a colonoscopy. You can do those things. You do them very well and very safe here. That's the bulk of typical surgery in most. Probably 3/4 of this. Never be a cancer center. Again, you've got to spend money on a linear accelerator, which is $5 million. You got to have around the clock oncologist, radiation specialist, so forth, so on. And 45 minutes from here, you've got one of the best cancer centers in the world. And Roswell Park, so they can't do that same thing with Strong. But there are some things that we must do here, and we have to do them well. And that's general surgery, orthopedics, GI, the basics.
The psychology that at one time there was discussion with someone, I don't recall who, about oncology treatments that could be done here, as opposed to having people travel to Roswell or Rochester. Whatever, do you know anything about it? Heard anything about it? Or is that
I have not, but in 30 years, small rural areas doing complex oncology and cancer treatments, that's a losing proposition. Too costly, that's infrastructure, and we don't have enough population of 40,000 people in our community, our service area there's not enough there to generate break even. Let me just throw this out. I think as you folks know, our sector volumes are under 200, they're about 170 a year, 60. So we contracted with consultant to look at our program strategically and so forth. And he sent us his report, presenting that to the hospital. But basically, for us to break even with obstetrics in our market, we have to do over 700 births a year. Let me say that again, we have to do 700 births a year to break even with our maternity program. You don't even have 7. There isn't even 700 in the county. There's maybe 300 or 400 at most. So as far as the eye can see, if we're taking the program forward, the county is going to have to subsidize it, probably the $2 to $3 million a year. Back to the taxpayer argument, is that something taxpayers want to fund in our county? That's a question that we consider discussed.
What about,
It can't be all things to all people. This is a fallacy that a lot of people in my profession see goes. This, that, this esoteric, so forth. And I was brought up in healthcare, stick to your knitting. That's do well. Efficient operation where your operations are as close to break even as possible. So the taxpayers don't have to subsidize this forever. That's the goal.
can you do substance abuse treatment?
Absolutely. It's very low cost. And it keeps people from coming back to the hospital on frequent flyers. Our folks come in, we get detox, they get some treatment on the inpatient side, they get cast out. There's really nothing in the community for treatment. And they show right back up in our ER. See it over and over again. Yes, we can do it. As part of this 1115 waiver that I talked about, the state and the feds are very interested in funding programs around substance use addiction recovery.
So that could be a potential revenue source.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna get rich on providing addiction treatment. But it's a service that we can offer, and it's not that expensive. It's not capital intensive. You don't need to spend millions of dollars on fancy X-ray equipment and all kinds of stuff.
But if we were to do it well, it could potentially be, you know,
It'd be break even, maybe, but it would be a cost avoidance too.
right?
And that we keep readmitting these folks that are not great payers, and then the county can subsidize this program. So yes, it's certainly, we're gonna look at it.
Okay,
Regard it.
I can go back to the two, and I know you mentioned, and Treasurer mentioned about, outside county, you know, the county subsidizing. In a case like substance abuse, you have many things in the healthcare. And if you have, say you get 25 beds for that, for an extended program, 28-day program, you have to have all those beds filled. They come from New York City, or if you don't have somebody from Wyoming County, they can slip right into that. You have to take them wherever the waiting is. So you just have to keep that in mind that you can get away. The taxpayers be.
Patient is a patient.
Well, before you mentioned, as far as what the treasurer said, that we were paying for people outside the county.
Sure.
So I'm just saying, it's like that all the way around.
But what I'm hearing from Dave is that even if it's break even, it's cost avoidance. We're not having people who have substance abuse problems coming back into the facility time and time again.
Or we're going to go here.
Yeah.
right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a, one way or the answer can be fact there, yeah, one way or another, the county's paying, you treat them down there and get a lot of drugs. Next week, we're gonna commit the crime and end up over here, then we're paying for it
Sure.
through there. I mean, it's. Yeah. The drug epidemic, I don't know, especially in rural areas.
Oh, no.
It's, It's here to stay.
I just want to say one thing. I've had the opportunity to use the emergency room several times. And for those of us that have ambulances or been involved with the fire service and went to city emergency rooms, you know what they're like.
Crazy.
Try to avoid it.
You go to the emergency room down here, you go in at 3:30 in the morning with chest pains. They come in, they give you an EKG, chest x-ray, blood work. Blood work comes back, a little shaky on a couple things. You're upstairs for a CT scan. Back down, blood work again in less than an hour. You'd be lucky to see a doctor in the big city emergency rooms in an hour, let alone have any test done or anything. People just don't not realize what a gem is right down the road when you talk about acute care. You know, if you got a heart problem or whatever, and this happened to me last Thursday, and luckily it's not heart related, I guess. I gotta go see Gomez for follow-up, but you know,
And there,
less than an hour. You know,
been there.
boom, 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 boom. I mean, it just.
Yep.
I had 2 male nurses. They were great. They started IVs. I was dehydrated, so I had to have
I had a nurse that sat with me all night long until they could get me up to Gates to fix it up.
so it's. You know, if you need somebody to sing the praises of the hospital, come and see me. And I think if you go out and you talk to the taxpayers in the county, they're willing to pay to keep that hospital here and open.
Right.
I don't know as, you know, they don't want to pay as much as they're paying.
I had 5 people, or 6 people at my town board meeting who weren't willing to pay for an ambulance, a full-time EMT.
I know,
So, you know,
until they need one.
no, exactly. Till they need one, that would be a different story.
That's right.
But they were
Got it.
I know.
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And in the city hospitals, they're not even in, they're stacked up in the hall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I've known a person who went to the ER strong, he was in the emergency room for 72 hours before he got out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's,
Down here, you'd be discarded. There was anywhere.
And I've said it before, when Becky says, you know, lives are saved here. Yeah, my daughter's life was saved by a doctor that, yeah, in an emergency room that understood what he had the inkling of what was wrong with her. She had Hodgkin's lymphoma. 6 months we went around to the city hospitals, to the city doctors to find out what the heck was going on. No one could diagnose it. He did. She's here. No, he left many years ago. I can't remember his name, but he was good. He went to Canada or
A
something.
lot of the, you know, a lot of my colleagues. I've been doing this too long. The quality of care, there's been a number of studies on this. Due to consolidation of big system process to regional. Why that care, so the care is no better than it is, and statistically, than in rural areas. And the costs are not lower, they're actually higher. Because these big systems use their market power and dominance to negotiate higher commercial rates with the neighbors. That's the, you know, whole story of consolidation. It's market level, it's market power, but the quality of care oftentimes is certainly. Anything else I can answer for folks?
It's astounding that the Cleveland Clinic bought $1 million.
Yeah.
When did we buy it? Wow. If anybody's ever been there, it's probably, it's like a city, it's like a building. And there was money.
Yeah.
They probably have $1 billion endowment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't have a, you know, the factors of what I'm counting.
All right, any other questions? We'll move on with the agenda.
Conversation.
Needs to be had.
Mhm.
Number two. The first one is a shared service with the county for Office of the Services for the pre-hospital care. You know, 10,000. This is an extension, contract extension for active work. Who's a family practitioner in Arcadia. Does a nice job. The contract expired in March of next year. Wants to stay on with us. So we're increasing his base salary, $250 to $260. Clause in his contract, which is the practice. So I can bring the property. So he has a stipend to provide leadership as a clinical director for the UFA. And then we added an incentive payment. The law for the Arcadia Clinic currently is about $400,000 a year. If Dr. Brewer can help get that to zero, eliminate that deficit, he would be eligible for a bonus payment stipend of $30,000.
So. What's a little incentive?
Absolutely, all the help we can get. Yeah, we gotta get folks in.
It's up to him then.
It's up to him. Yeah, he can do it alone, but we certainly need his help.
But he's a leader.
Exactly right. Number four, this is for a orthopedic physician assistant by the name of Carol. Organ assistant. Orthopedics. These are basically the same terms that he had in the general positions, only rolled this over to a contract with the county, paying a base amount of $525. And if that number looks high to you, it's about the 50% off for a cardiologist across the country. They're very expensive. But he's got a very strong productivity clause. And folks that know Joe Gomez, Joe can be a little intense at times, but he's a great guy. He's clinically very sound and he's hugely productive. So he's agreed to a productivity incentive of 8,000 RVUs. That's 4,000 for every 6 months. The amount of $64 per RVU. And that will be effective February 1st. Contract. Number 6 is related to stairs. I mentioned Dr. Hall will be leaving us at the end of the month. She'll be transitioning to Tennessee, work in Tennessee. For sure. Dr. Belaya has proposed that we contract directly with his PC, professional corporation, for services and coverage. So this would be 24/7, 365. Not just himself, but one person covered, but he would on his own contract with other obstetric providers and over our program. So he would have coverage for weekends, if you're on vacation, and all those kind of things. These other covering docs would have to be board certified or eligible, specialized in the. And this would provide coverage. Clinic, surgery, emergency on call, labor services, not to exceed that's $925. This is part of the $2.6 or $2.7 million loss for the service line, which is ongoing. But until the county makes a determination about that program, we have to provide coverage.
Dave, these doctors, do they carry their own malpractice service?
No, for this arrangement, this is not. Actual, so the doctor will say, you're gonna go.
Right.
No, Gomez would be an employee arrangement.
So you come over to the county, I'll do the full. Very good, thank you.
We read the numbers, by the way, of Dr. Gomez. And I think we shared these with the board last week. I think it is, but bringing him on at that amount is more than breaking, it's a profitable decision for us, very conservative at his current volume. And given the scarcity, the deficit of cardiology services, we're very confident that he can increase his volume considerably.
Dave, how many OBGYN providers do we have?
After December 31st, one. That's what this agreement calls for him to come in through OBGYN. Seven hospitals arrangement. To go to the contract after February of this year. Their amount to receive 1.5 million, which is consistent with what we're paying now. This one's not. Schedule C, 17. All right, so 2 through 7. Contracts for the doctors, is there any questions on any of these?
Number 2, Dr. Swikart. Number 2, Dr. Swikart.
Which one?
Number 2.
No. Bottom page 11. Oh, for the, yeah, you don't have that. You know, director, I don't know. This is the extension or of an existing agreement between the county and the hospital, county pays and I don't know who that director is. Anybody? We can find out. I had to ask Jim, I had to ask what this was, I actually didn't know. WYP and that's what's.
Whoever's in the ER. The director of the ER is. Ambulance service. Who knocks in the ER? I had to be done. Yeah. It used to
Me and me, Dr. Wild,
Do it anymore.
So,
I don't know who it is, no.
which is
I
unfortunate.
don't know.
I heard the name, but no.
John?
Isn't it Naomi, this is Naomi, the
No,
EMS guy?
You know.
no, Fahey, isn't it Fahey?
Yeah.
Medical director.
Yeah, I've heard
I
that
think-
name, yeah. Yeah.
Don't quote me, but I think so.
And just as a point of reference, number 7 will only be an approval because they're still working on the highlighted. When the contract card is gonna be. So that'll be an approval for them to move forward, and they'll bring it back when they actually have the voice made.
Need a motion for 2 through 7, I'll make. it.
All right, any more questions on 2 through 7?
I have a question,
Yeah.
actually a comment. So Dave, I thought I heard you say the arcade clinic is losing 400. So just to recall, we entered into an agreement, looks like 3 years ago, to purchase these clinics with the intention of providing referrals to the hospital. We're 3 years in now. And it doesn't seem like we're making progress in the right direction. You're working on the hospital. How are we going to address these clinics down the road?
Yeah, I'm working on hospital, the clinics, the nursing home, and our strategy, so it's all of the above. And we've got all the projects I'm gonna show you on Thursday. 30 of them.
Okay,
Yeah, so it is, yeah, it's one of our priorities.
yeah, I think I recall when we had this discussion with Don Eichenauer, and he was the proponent for us purchasing these clinics because they would provide referral services. And it would take a few years, a couple of years to kind of get things settled. I'm reading this amendment here, resolution 19-395, which was approved on 10th of September 2019. So we're already, well, 3 years plus into it. And
So,
I would hope that it would start to bear some fruit.
well, can I add something else? So of the 70% leakage in our county from the arcade market alone, 85% of that market does not come to the hospital.
So that begs the question, why do we own a clinic down there?
I wasn't here then, and I can't comment on that, but we're trying to address it, get it resolved, and get it fixed. At a minimum, it's gotta be regulated, it cannot be.
Without a doubt.
Yep. Then we can talk about generating referrals or putting services there, so. It's gotta get to break even, or I think we have another conversation about. Is that our wise investment for us to continue?
Absolutely. I mean, if they're sending their patients to Bertram Chaffee, you know, or Erie County.
Yeah.
What's the logic in having it?
Good question. Right now, we are putting Dr. Brewer in charge. Change the
Dynamic.
The dynamics, yeah, but there's another thing, I think, in defense of maybe isn't behind this, but a lot of those referral patterns or migration patterns from that market weren't established in the last 18 or 21 months. Those go back 20, 30 years. And Dr. Dean, Dale Dean, he was there 55 years.
Right.
So there's a lot of legacy that we're trying to change.
Well,
The years, trying to change that, but this goes back, I would guess, 20 to 30 years.
well, if I recall, the reason we purchased these clinics was purely defensive on our part. We did not want another service provider to come in and buy them and send the referrals to their facility. So that's why we made this move. But if it's not, you know, we're not realizing the benefit of that, then we ought to kind of take another look at it.
But at the same time, who's going to, just like the hospital, who's going to come in and purchase a clinic?
Well, but that's a little different.
It's a necessary service.
But it's not an urgent. We're not obligated to continue.
Right.
True.
What we can do is close the branch.
Close that branch. That's not going to address the issue of leakage. And I would assume the same thing is true with the clinic in the northern part of the county.
Sure.
Attica Clinic, because of its proximity to Genesee County.
It's a tough market because you got Batavia, a lot of that's away. That one's about a 10% market share, it's about 90% goes to Batavia.
Right, so I guess we watch and see it, but they aren't gonna turn around. We need to have a big discussion on what.
Yes, and quite frankly, this is part of a much broader improvement effort for everything, but also next.
90%.
Everybody basically has to stand on their own and generate at least break even or a small profit before you look at them strategically. Are they helping us or are they not?
Just reiterating Supervisor Burwanger's comments, we need to start looking at these things now, not a year from now,
Well,
not 2 years
if
from now.
I could say, I've been looking at them since June 1st.
Okay,
So I'm just averaging.
all right.
We're tracking with
Well, we're providing some incentives to this individual to try to reduce the cost of that burden.
Well, keep in mind too, Dr. D just retired a few months ago,
Sure,
so,
sure.
and Dr. Brewer's a young fellow. He's been interested in a bigger role. He's got an opportunity for him to help us.
And we should not keep these clinics open simply for political purposes either.
I totally agree.
Okay,
There's never been a political agenda.
Maybe like at the next meeting, can you bring us some kind of spreadsheet or something that says what each clinic has lost?
Well, yes.
Or something?
I shared that with the board at our last meeting. They're generating about $7 million in revenue, losing about 13 now, so it's a 5% loss. If combined with the loss of the hospital, 18 million revenue, here we go, $22 million. Oh, that's fine. And we're looking at every one of these pieces, so and I can appreciate you bringing this up, and we can look at it. We've been looking 5 minutes on site here, and I was looking at it, we have to get this addressed. Otherwise, we don't have a chance to get this place. And the county's gonna have to make, the board and the county are gonna have to make some tough decisions.
the problem, Dave, is
Clinics, mission contracts, program services.
there's a reason why there are only 2 county-owned hospitals in the entire state.
Really correct.
And the barriers to success for those hospitals, primarily because of the, unionized environment and the benefits that we provide,
So that,
are so high that it makes it extremely difficult to make them viable.
yes, and I would agree with it, which is why the state needs to step in and help us get through this plan. We can't do this ourselves.
Sure.
And probably in my conversations with the CFO, Mark, it's just more than 5 years to get through all of this restructuring.
I mean, I'd rather pay a lobbyist $400K a year. Who can be in Albany in the politicians and the governor's ears, to try and get us some funding.
Yeah, there's no guarantee.
Well, I understand that, but
And strategy. The New York is a very blue state. The governor's office, the Department of Health. CSEA. Ferguson.
Yeah, Dave and I have working to work our way up the chain of command within the union. Obviously, they have unique access to the governor's office and whole political sway in the state. And we're hoping to list their active assistance on behalf of Wyoming County. That they're willing to do that. We're asking them certainly not to oppose anything that we're going to do. We believe that the story we have to tell will gain their support and help us move this piece forward. On behalf of their members and our employees and our residents.
They have in 550 80,000. At the hospital.
And just at the hospital alone, and then they have hundreds more represented employees in towns, villages, county, and surroundings. CSEA is the largest union. They very powerful. They're good ally, half of bad enemy.
Anything else?
so it should be perfectly clear that I remain skeptical
complex. Yeah, and strategy.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's, I bring a little bit different perspective. The days of buying commission practices, but I know, years ago, nobody buys practices.
yeah.
Because it's unheard of.
And, and again, I'll reiterate, I am not opposed to providing a subsidy to the hospital. We're operational, but we gotta be reasonable. We gotta be reasonable.
That's that is the direction. That's the direction we gave when we came in, from board managers.
I truly think that he's working hard to try to help us do that. On the other hand, being on the OTB board, we have branches out there. And every one of them loses money. There isn't one in slowly closing them one by one and bringing, bringing it to the bars and restaurants, that the business there, instead of having branches where you have to employ people, pay the electric, pay the gas, whatever else. I mean, they're just losing money and we know that it's just a matter of time before we have to.
But they're doing innovative things up there to try to change things around. They're just gonna do racing in the winter months and
Right,
summer concerts and all of that.
we're doing the concerts and we're doing, the winter racing was kind of a thing for us that Buffalo Raceway's racetrack is not in very good shape.
Sure.
So they came to us, offered us pretty good money to do that winter racing, so.
That's what you want to do.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyways,
All right, so any more questions on 227? Motion by Supervisor May. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Carried. Okay, top page 14, number 8. Number 8, Salem is going to make the presentation. Is to propose that took 2 positions which we passed, eliminated those. Say, that's a set the salary, one quality and one new at $62,000. I believe in reduction in the prior role, the person coming in same level of experience, that's actually savings. Right. And so the salary, one nurse recruited position, $87,000. 7. Position 6 months extra. 1 month increase. I think it's so this was one of the recommendations that I made. Just great. He's got a lot of energy. The transfer one to dietitian. I think the discretion decides that it's on. Going on, yeah, I said we want grade 1 position, cardiologist, I'll say it is. Stipends, activity bonus, 3,000 target was split every 6 months into 4, so it's $4. 2, 3. But already coming back, which provided this 60. Meeting. And this is Commissioner. And then it is. Political record. This is. It's $30,000 incentive bonus to get the RA back, even. And National General Surgeon, Dr. Ahmed, since the dog schedule 375 for years. And then mid-level provider position, this is for Dr. Goldman, and I have a mid-level provider. This is something general position will provide. That's exactly what and the last one is a recommendation from the hospital recognition committee and board. That picture of Bill McTiernan, located and displayed in the straight hallway in the area across from radiology in the stairwell. It's going to have what the link added stating the following. You can read that. And this is Joel Jarrett's tenure. Good, there's a question, for 8, 9, or 10. Fred Grant. And 10, here. No discussion. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? And 10 carried. Anything else? I don't think about that. Yes, negative. Janice?
What?
I don't know if you know where we been at a subsidy, the
Payment
the
from,
payment of HR hospital to the county. The pretty much and stuff. We're giving money to them. Subsidy, and they're gonna turn around and pay that.
I don't remember ever having that discussion.
I don't remember having that.
I don't remember having that discussion, and if that was a discussion you were gonna have and something we were gonna do, because it's part of HR's budget, correct? You get paid from the hospital.
So they don't.
So if you don't get it, right, and if they don't get it, then how do we balance their budget after we just adopted the budget?
Yeah, so. The hospital has to show the money paid for HR.
Or, if you're looking at me, this is the oddest construct. From the county.
Right, they used to have their own HR.
Explanation of this, I had none. It's that we're relying on the county to subsidize us to the tune of $11 million. And then the county back 500,000. It's a bookkeeping exercise, but I talked about it yesterday. I'll defer to the county.
What is the question?
Well, that's. I don't know if the question.
Well, I think you would have to
We're talking about
continue.
The extra money, $7 million. For the last 2 months, the last 2 months of the year. And we talked about having $1 million for HR. So why I thought somebody asked a question. I could be wrong, maybe it was a conversation.
I know Dave and I had said, to me, it seems like a lot of money, like to have $500,000 for HR, but it is what it is. I mean, that's how much your budget is. So,
It's
right.
And there's 604.
Well, and you have to remember the semester rest is included, right? I mean, so rest, there's union stuff, there's each school.
I mean, the anomaly that, we apportion a piece of the HR budget to the hospital. provide services to all the other county entities, as well as dedicate pretty much a full-time FTE to nothing but the towns, villages, and school districts, and not apportion any of those expenses to those other entities is an oddity.
Well,
I'm not defending it, or I'm just pointing it out. You know, I have a person who almost completely 100% dedicated to civil service, in support of all the town, villages, school districts, that for pretty much her entire function, as well as the Iowa and assisting the towns and villages, which is, you know, varies, but we don't apportion any of that.
well, you do, in essence, when you have a levy, and that levy is spread out to all the taxpayers, so
Yeah.
that is your apportionment.
But it's just-
Hospital is a direct, so it is different. And if you are assisting the towns specifically on something, you should be billing that.
The money that the budget, the department required to operate is no different, the total is no different.
Wait a minute, if the hospital wasn't an enterprise fund operating with that many people, your department would not be functioning at the cost that it is. And if it does, I will lose my mind. So, yes, if there was no hospital, your department would be a lot smaller.
No, I agree. If we lost half the employee base of the county, we would not need as many HR support. You're right, because the transactional activity would be less. But since they are here, it's fantasy to think that they're not. We have to supply services, retirement services, benefit services.
And
It's because they are an enterprise fund, it's like a business.
it has to be, okay, I don't know if you guys remember when the auditors were here, as an enterprise fund. They have to theoretically not cost the county any money.
Right.
And I specifically said, where's that line and when does that not, when are they gonna be deemed not an enterprise fund for the two that we're providing? And, you know, this is kind of a weird question, but it's an enterprise fund. They have to show, I mean, we have to build them.
Or they'd have to get their own HR department, correct?
Yes.
And not do services through the county. Right?
And on top of that, we have a cost allocation plan that's done every year, that back up the hospital. So we can't take your expenses and blow them across the departments, which is what we do. So in essence, we do charge all the departments for your service. Through that cost allocation plan that we approve every year.
But they're not actually billed, we do that every time.
They're not built for all general fund.
And it's because I was trying to understand this, I was talking today, so it's because of the being enterprise. Yes. It's,
I mean, in essence, that's what it is. So if the hospital chose to not pay that money and say, we're gonna do our own thing, like they used to, you would have that expense somewhere. This expense would be less, it would not. So that's basically the thing. So if there's an issue with how much it is,
Well,
that's between you and Dan.
yeah. Okay. So I don't see eye to eye. The typical allocation for each size is about half what we're spending now. That's just the reality. We benchmark everything, nursing, support services, HR. How the payment mechanism goes to the county is up to the county. I'll let you guys figure
Times
that out.
right. So
I don't think the mechanics of this is gonna change. I don't think the county's gonna
The
change
amount.
the HR structure. And given everything we have on our plate right now, this is probably an area we all want to go in. We got enough on our plate. We don't need to develop our own HR function. But if we were to buy it, outsource from another system perhaps, and affiliation, I would never pay $500,000 for HR. Well, that's. But you also have in the civil service that, I get it, I get it, there's probably something in there that the county would take to us in terms of support. Just the mechanics of HR, recruiting, onboarding, job. All the information that we have is that's the amount twice as high as similar hospitals. I'll use Lewis County as I talked to their CEO. They have 4 people on site. They do not buy services from the county. And they're paying about half the rate that we are. Yeah, so I'll defer to the county. I'll let you folks want to handle this. I guess I just don't have to charge 500 and then have to go back to Janice and say, oh, we need another 500. It's like shelving. I hope that's not the case.
Seems like it.
Well, so when you asked for the 7 million, that we got last 2 months. Previous. We started to draw down that. Go ahead. Were you under the understanding at that point that the 500,000 not going to have to be paid? Yeah, that's what the conversation I think Dan and I and we had at some point several months ago. That why didn't this company just waive?
Wait, no, I know why, Dan, you said that, because I remember us having an email conversation about this,
Said it was questioned. There's no.
and I answered it.
There was no deal cut, no arrangement.
But how can you just take $500 out?
She had to reach.
Budget.
She was supposed.
Right.
Right.
And then there was the budget for 2023, and I reached out and said, this is how much it's gonna be based on the allocation of person. I don't know what the numbers. It's their budget.
This whole thing could be solved by reverse engineering the allocation. I mean, it's subjective.
No,
I mean, if you want to pay two tenants. I mean, I'm providing to you a reality of how many hours people spend on the phone. And if you want me to reallocate those hours to reflect the different number, who's going to say it's right or wrong?
well, you can time study, that's the.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I gave you the exact.
So, I take the amounts. So I take those amounts and I allocate them based on the amounts of time spent given to me by Dan every year.
100% of the payroll person at the hospital. We took the number of hires and divided that by the number of people associated with that. 88% of all the hiring reviews for the hospital. And we did the math and divided it by the hours.
So James is trying to tell you that it's important for an enterprise fund to work with exact numbers in order to know specifically if you're making a profit or not. She's shaking her head, yes.
And I know specifically when we went from an HR department of 2 at the hospital, I believe there was like an HR lady and one other person. And then
Brenda Jones.
Brenda Jones and David. And then our HR department, when we merged it, it was to say.
Our HR department was, personnel officer and civil service officer.
Right. So
And there were, cashier worker, how many people were there?
3, right?
So now combined, that would be 5.
With it,
How many employees you got now there?
7. And one of those is the hospital payroll person who used to be in the hospital and we decided to consolidate.
Payroll was a separate function.
it was
Payroll was done at the hospital by a payroll person, payroll was done at the county.
treasurer.
So those two individual areas.
Right.
Is that real?
Well,
Makes sense.
well, I have 7 and I have 5 and 2 payroll.
So it's the same. So, well, for whatever reason, this county we decided to go to a combined for efficiency, cross training, I think, one of the other. Whatever reason, when that was done, I was.
You got it.
Hospitals. We had to bill back by dollar, we had to calculate a dollar amount
based on their salary and grade. We couldn't just charge quarterly. And we bill that 5% by hour, by dollar. So that they can be claimed on some sort of cost. So, okay, I can do that. So I don't know, you can't just not pay it. And I don't, you have to receive it, and you call it shopping, but it's, you know, but you can't just for, you don't have to pay it, because if that was the case, we should have raised our taxes another $1 million or $500,000.
To cover his budget.
Because we don't have that built into our like 5-year plan. That's not part of the 5-year plan because that messes with everything else.
His house is gonna balance his budget now, but we already adopted the budget.
Well, another $500,000 will come on. After the 8th or 9th, we already dug out and. The 5-year going forward, considering how much we feel like we're gonna use. You saw the graph, another 5 million, another, you know, and that's hoping things turn around. We have to be very careful. So I don't know where that came from, so.
Well, here when that was developed, I'm just telling you.
You were thinking it's too high, like something.
Is it enough for you to county?
Hospital, 90% personal. You've got to have a HR. He resident in the hospital. I've never heard of not having. With all due respect, it is a strange animal. I don't agree with it. But I'll defer to the county, Dave and so forth. We will live with it as it is. Again, we have so much on our plate. This is an area that I want to fight right now. I can't. I got too much else. I got 100 projects going. I just don't have the energy. So, well, they need to have. That include the HR department, they payroll. That have first, I also never see an HR do payroll. It's always been a finance function. I talked to him on the CFO, he's also saying the same way too, do finance. I mean. Just for kind of do welcome for 8:30, welcome for payroll also. Or without payroll, economic move it within the finance and do it within your. You have to have a payroll process also.
Payroll,
Conversation.
here up until a few years ago.
Absolutely.
It's not as simple as, oh, we have multiple payrolls, we have. If you move hospital payroll and the hospital finance facilities, we side payroll. And without backups on either one, the concept that we did a couple of years ago, when we brought the two payrolls together so they could co-support one another through the transition again. We have Munis on one side, we have Kronos on the other side. Then we have another payroll system for the highway. We have yet another payroll system for the sheriff's department. I mean, it is not a single system. And if the hospital was to say, okay, we no longer want to buy payroll services from the HR, we could do that. And then you could, or vice versa, and then they would be a standalone, unbacked up system with no ability if the payroll clerk gets hit by us. And that's where we were
For at least 30 years.
Yeah.
There was no running back. Dixie Perkins did payroll for 25 years. And Nancy Piper took over.
And now we have a co-mingled system where they actually run up and support one.
Or Dave, alternatively, you could give a call to Bond and Associates and they send me solicitations almost every week for HR and payroll and the whole 9 yards. I think they're in Erie County.
Payroll.
Right.
Because what he's saying is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, there's multinational companies who have employees in all 50+ states, who handle payroll systems and the finance systems and payrolls for each and every single state, including withholdings, taxes, and so on. It's doable. It's doable. So because we have half a dozen, doesn't make it rocket science.
No, I'm not suggesting it.
Okay, just to be clear, I mean,
Explain why.
I understand, but you know, it's not as complicated as I think, Dan, as you may think it is. There are private entities that handle, there are legal firms, there are, you know, they handle all this kind of payroll stuff. And on a broad array of different systems that have to talk to each other. Because at the end of the day, it all flows into one financial system. But he's right, I mean, if
The rest of it.
in the reality, we should have given you 7.5 million this year, so that you could pay your debt to the county of 500,000.
I mean, I do think, Janice, the pension obligation was a little lower. Anticipated, whatever the difference is there. Look at this, again, it's extraordinarily difficult. HR in, and now sixth position for the.
You and I imagine we opposed on this issue as I have ever been, any of this body. And I just want to go on record saying that you do have more than 3 full-time dedicated individuals associated with HR. You're not even taking into account labor relations or the other legalities and representations that we do. You know, this group, human rights, no matters, representing hospital. So the fact that physically not sitting there or 20 yards away.
You and I are going to agree on this. We're not, we're never going to agree on it, so. And I like you and respect you again, but we're never going to agree on this. And it's.
Well, in reality,
It's very Spanish right now.
you're the beneficiary of the services that he provides even to the towns, because he doesn't bill us for them, so. Am I right?
There are some arrangements I have with some of the towns that we've built this spot. So, and find stuff, you know, we don't get involved with, but I do have service contracts with some of the towns, some of the fire districts for ongoing HR support, especially in the area of sexual harassment training, ongoing training, and investigation. I have contracts with not everyone for that, as an example.
Sure. Janice had the answer.
Sure.
It's gonna come out of fund balance.
You do, Jerry.
I don't know.
Don't you pay it.
Back to that.
You gotta pay the bills, keep the book straight. He's gonna have to pay the bill and then
Joe still got his.
Yeah, also. I won't even be in bed. I think that's
Thank you,
thank you, folks.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Not very nice.
thanks.
Okay.
All right, so let's move back to page 8, number 11.
I'd love to, but I can't.
That's housekeeping. And if you ever want to stick your nose in our storage room back here, it's beautiful. Yeah. Ethan was ready to leave home, so.
So we got room for the fall.
Yeah, technically we do. And it would look great back there.
Hey, I'm with number 11.
All right, so. I have a motion for number 11. Yes. Okay, got a motion by Supervisor King. For number 11.
This was
Yeah.
sense.
Supervisor King, and we're discussing on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here it is. We'll all approve recommend purchase of possible revision. Any questions on that? Raise them.
We didn't raise anything. It was like inside out and we finished some numbers. So it's clearer for the policy and for the user, which we didn't realize when it got published last time, so.
That, got a motion by Supervisor May. Any more discussion on this? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, top page 9. Appropriation on behalf of the jail.
I'll make the motion.
No, this for.
We already did this.
We already do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we already did this one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do it. I did it. It was my number 4. And then also there should be my number 13. Got one else. So we'll remove this one.
Did we do 14, 15, 16?
Not yet.
My number 4 is the same.
It's 30.
It's number 13.
Yeah.
All right, Supervisor May, just question about 14, 15, and 16 for the public defender.
Yep.
Any questions on E3? Motion by Supervisor May. For all 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
No, do I? That written down, but NISAC. For the end of February, March.
It's the end of February, the first day of March.
So I don't have any of the information here, but I would like permission to get our hotel reservations in order.
And this is gonna be down to that one again, or?
The one, yeah, the one,
It's gonna be-
winter is always.
February, when you say going to that, and February. The couple of March.
So you know what I'll do, because I need to have a big handful of people, and there were a few that we removed
I know, I
from
need
the
to.
last round.
Right.
I will tell you when I get the minutes done, who I'm gonna make reservations for. And then if you could please confirm your yes or no. Relatively.
That's gonna be. 26th of February is Sunday. 27th, 28th, and then first of March is Wednesday. That's it. That will be committee.
It will be, we'll have to move it. Or we'll have to decide. You know. Maybe not such a big contingency goes on, but. At least I want to get in so that we're all in the dozen.
Okay.
I would add that if you sign up to go and that,
We're gonna have to get some.
and that you're a no-show, you reimburse the county for the expense.
Right, because I've had people question how much money that the county paid and people didn't go. And
Or last go around.
So let me tell you that and this is my song, every time we do NICEAG conference, right? I can get the full expense of the hotel back, usually if it's within 24 hours. I know that for a fact, typically I can talk to the hotel about getting the whole thing back. So I am not worried at all about the hotel because they can sell their rooms.
It's the registration.
Right, the problem is the registration because NICEAG is planning on us and they're purchasing the material.
can't get it back.
I can't get it back. Yep.
So if you're planning on going. Well, Cheryl, and. You better communicate and it's everybody. Put your name in if you want to go. So, you know, resolution to approve you to,
I do.
to reserve RSVP's hotel.
I do.
Everybody understand that motion? Any discussion? I have a motion.
What?
Supervisor Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries.
The fall conference is gonna be an attorney still.
I don't know that.
It's gonna be September again, or
So it's like 13, 14.
It's a nice place.
Very nice. This one is at the Desmond or former Desmond.
Albany.
Isn't it Super Bowl weekend?
Could be.
I don't know.
Well,
Because it's later.
Later.
We'll be all done.
It's February, beginning.
it used to be, Super Bowl weekend.
Stitch of problems with
Doesn't.
is the Desmond.
Sure.
They're tails.
The problem is getting there in the end of winter.
Yeah,
Getting there and getting back.
you're right.
Well, you know, it was whatever, we got it done. White knuckled it the whole way.
Super Bowl's the fall.
The 12th, okay.
So, Pro Bowl weekend.
All right, we got that done, and I think that's it for me. Oh, wait, I just have one more thing.
Sure.
The results of the weighted vote are sort of it. Had a little hiccup. The material was distributed. I got the material, the reports. And I shared them with my committee chair, the chairwoman, and my partner. My partner, yeah, my partner in crime, Jim Ray, thank God, because it passed reapportionment plans. I was always able to work with David Zorn through the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council. And he was my go-to for like mining out prison numbers and making sure that all of our census data was correct for the weighted vote. And my friend, who I actually really admire, and if you ever get an opportunity to read Lee Papianopoulos' like Jerry and I talked about it, his obituary, he was so much more than what we thought he was. And he passed away in 2015, so I'm super sad. But we have a legal arrangement with SUNY New Paltz, and they did our weighted voting plan. Only to discover we had a little bit of a hiccup, and we're hoping to have those numbers back by Friday. And I will share with you ahead of time those reports, but Josh Simons from SUNY New Paltz is going to make arrangements hopefully to be on Zoom to speak with everyone in case there are questions at committee of the whole. This, the 13th. Then we'll move forward with the local law for January. Just enjoy waiting vote.
Well.
It was so exciting. Then it was that.
Wow. Those numbers are pretty.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of, do you think they will GNS?
One or two, points here and there.
But my partner in crime, Jim Bright, who I have to give big kudos to, because I reached out to him early because I just knew that I would need help in finding someone, and then, of course, NICEAG started having people come in and do presentations, because they also mostly popular on the field, which was made to us with weighted voting plans, so.
And so with that, this is all gonna be different, then. It's not gonna be the 15.
I don't know that for sure, but we've always been told by the former county, a former county attorney, Eric Gadd, to stick to the closest ending. But I also know that SUNY New Paltz made recommendations within their weighted voting plans. I'm not really gonna pay a whole lot of attention to it, just when I get yeah. And then we'll start looking at it to see why they recommended, what they recommended.
Yeah. Patience.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
wait, it'll be kind of 115.
And you gotta understand too, that we've got two weighted voting. That's
Right.
hard for me to say today, weighted voting
Right.
plans, because we've got a simple majority and 2/3 majority, yeah,
So.
but. More to come, and once I was notified that we were off, I just thought I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time trying to understand this when. Gotta wait for it to be right, but it's close, and we're gonna be able to share some, I want you guys to know that. Now I'm done.
All right, any questions for Cheryl? We're gonna move on to the agenda, try to be done here. On page 9. Meeting, set the date time for the 23 organizational meeting on Tuesday, January 3rd. Well, no, set the date, yes.
Big time.
For date time, which is gonna move finance to Wednesday. And everything else. Anyway, the problem with that. Question, comments, concerns? Supervisor May. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Commission to renew the naval membership for 2022. $342. Question on this? For the grant? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 3, official newspaper designation. Daily News, the Country Courier, Prairie Herald, Arcade Herald. Republican designation. Daily News, the Country Courier. Democrat designation, Arcade Herald, Prairie Herald. Any questions or comments on this? Motion. There's a Brick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 4. Recap of the departmental annual report requested no later than March 31st.
You know what, I'm not gonna send this to the organization. I'm not quite sure why that's there, we'll do those at regular meeting.
So the. Here's what says, who's on that?
Oh, yeah. Every year.
Every year. Any questions or comments on number 4? None? All in favor? I got a motion, Supervisor Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And top page 11, discussion of television committee board. Not according to nobody's big law anymore, who's gonna. I'm in favor of content, I've had some conversations with different ones. Some for, some against, the argument against, get rid of it, is it does give members of communities the opportunity to not be here and be at home and do it, or at least, or any other meeting, supervisor to listen in and be able to speak. I understand that.
I'm in favor of discontinuing it, mainly from the standpoint that it interferes with the in-room microphones.
Yeah.
And some of us are not a little bit hard of hearing at times.
Yeah.
And even with Dave trying to speak here, he was so soft spoken.
That's hard to
We
hear.
need to have microphones that are functional in this
Yeah.
room and we can hear
Yeah.
the proceedings. That's more important than broadcasting in my book.
So there was a comment made to the meeting, if we stop this, move committee meetings back into.
To our room.
Or all around the table, closer.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can hear better.
but you
Yeah,
can hear.
you're right. Yeah, I think we should go back.
Comments and questions.
Yeah.
And not picking that anybody right here, but.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
And I'm not picking on individuals, but there was no conversation going on. James and I were talking and.
Yes,
Or conversation over here, and conversation going on over here. And
hard to follow.
It is.
and you can't follow.
Right.
And so they did the stuff. Even after I came up with, I could have sworn about 3 months ago, we talked about that. Now, sure. The HR, like, why charge the bank while we're giving them
Uh,
7, 8.
And I don't remember that.
I'm all for,
And at any rate,
Another point about having a meeting in that room. It's always been my perception that when a department head comes to the committee, and true, it's open. But it's their time to
Right.
talk to the committee. They don't need to have a half a dozen other department heads sitting right there listening.
That's right. You're
Right.
right. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you wanted to go into an executive session to talk about whatever the reason is, you don't have to have, 50 people walk out of the room and move everybody and all that.
yeah,
There was a reason why the board, in their wisdom 100 years ago,
Maybe.
started to have these meetings in these small rooms.
Yeah.
You know where the committee room used to be? In the treasurer's office, where the treasurer's office is right now. I mean, the committee room, the boardroom was in the the big office.
yeah.
So,
when this was court,
pardon me.
when this was the court.
I
Well, the court-
agree with discontinuing. For a number of reasons. One, if we're in there. Particularly when we're gonna be working on this jail building project. There's gonna be all kinds of plans and drawings. And instead of having it up there and trying to read the plan, whatever. Or somebody's gotta go around and pass
Yeah.
around the things. You
Yeah.
got drawings and you can look at them. You should them around. 3 or 4 people can look at them all. That's helpful. Also, when we have off-site meetings, like at Highway or at the Aid Center.
It's
And
painful.
we can't get the YouTube to work. Now it's kind of like, all right,
Didn't work there.
what kind of secret meeting are you holding? Because people are expecting to go online and find, and they're not.
Well, so with that, we don't have to have often. The next week's meeting, Tuesday meeting,
Right.
but that doesn't have to be YouTube, so we don't have to do YouTube fair next year.
And now that you can't participate, I don't bother watching, anytime I travel, if I could participate, I was always online and I participated, didn't miss a meeting, but this last week or whatever, I didn't watch, I couldn't participate, so I'm like, I'm just gonna have fun.
Watch, and then was good one. I understand you can't.
You can't.
Hear me.
Those
I was gonna watch.
Few months there.
Is it on there?
They were glad.
Yes.
I can't, you know. It's part of understanding, can't help that you one-on-one.
Yeah.
And the meetings are still, somebody want to talk, they'll ask.
And we got so many people and we'll just have to move into here.
Yeah.
That usually is the case.
So. I told Cheryl to put this on my agenda, because I wanted to bring it up and discuss it.
Yeah.
Get it to finance committee squad, or do we gotta do a committee of the whole? We do project.
I just want to go on record. I am one of the ones that likes it. And,
You want
and
to point it out?
when I am unable to make a committee meeting that I'm not a member of the committee or otherwise, I have gone back through watching YouTube because the minutes don't always reflect everything. Whatever the majority decides is what the majority decides, but I just want to go on record saying I have found it to be beneficial and helpful to me.
My minutes are more elaborate, they're even supposed
Yes,
to be.
I'm not finding fault with the minutes. There are things that, and I agree with everything that you have said about hearing. There are certain people, when they speak, you can hear everything clearly, and there are others that you might as well turn the volume down because
It's like moments in time, it has to do with, you know, the room, it has to do with service, it has to do with,
the person speaking.
yeah, those things.
Well, I think moving forward too, did we finish that new generator out there, or is that gonna be next year's project?
We haven't touched that.
We haven't started.
They haven't even started it yet. So there's gonna be some construction going on out there, and every time, even last week, I could hear the snow plow backing up, you know, beep, 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 beep. This is-
Seems like somebody's speaking so important.
Right,
Right.
Like that.
or when the guys were, when they were working on the, you know, the new entryway down there, hammering and jackhammering and drilling and cutting. That room is much better from
It is
an acoustic standpoint. This room is just
terrible.
the worst.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? I'm gonna make a motion that we discontinue it. So, with that, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? That'll carry it, and we'll discontinue it all the way around.
The budget one's still on there though, isn't it? I gotta watch it now.
Until today, even today is on it, but now after the vote.
Then we go, I'll go and watch the budget.
You can start, the old ones come up from a year ago.
Yeah, they don't know now.
I heard that. That was a given. That was a given.
Okay.
All right. I got a question also. As far as mileage reimbursement now, all these meetings are now no longer Zoom. Are we going to reimburse supervisors for going to, like, Intercounty was in Niagara Falls? Just asking.
I agree.
We thought of the reimbursement out, but.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Reimbursement for going to.
Did we budget for it?
I don't know whether that ever got cut out or not.
I think they, you know, when they're going that kind of way,
Again, you know, there's a Genesee Finger Lakes Regional
especially with the gas price.
in Rochester
All
Thursday.
right, around.
You're right.
Transportation Council Thursday.
I don't think we get paid.
Yeah, we still get reimbursed for registration fees. Like Intercounty's $25 now for the registration fee. But when Genesee Finger Lakes has their meetings, cost me $8 to park.
Right. Plus gas.
$10 to park at the fair.
You know, I mean, because now it seems like all of these are doing away with their Zoom
Right,
and their in-person meetings again. So are we gonna go back to reimbursement? That's
We cut that out way
so.
before COVID even hit.
Yeah.
We took it out of the budget.
2020, I think.
yeah, that was budget.
It's 3 years.
But I'd be in favor of reinstating.
But it's not in the budget for next year. We didn't budget for it.
It's not that much money.
It's not, no,
I'll say that because it was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money for village.
Everybody's putting in to come down here.
Thousands.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, they weren't. County
Well, let's see,
putting in to come to
174 point.
I didn't either, but that,
Billion.
But if you're traveling a distance,
drop
you
in the
know, I
bucket.
mean,
I think you have to say.
outside county, I would say to reinstate
You-
that.
outside travel.
My guess, the hospital loses, we would island in one day.
We're still on, you're still on.
Zero, but it's in there for 2020.
Oh. I personally was never in favor of the mileage coming and going to committees. I mean,
Would the-
Cheryl was gonna pay to drive here for work every day. Janice was gonna pay to drive here for work every day. Dan was gonna pay to.
However, let's take a look at this hard line, what it used to be. Used to pay for our meals when you came to a committee meeting. We go down to the committee.
The first time I came here, our pay goes, oh yeah, but then you're just over town. I go, what restaurant? Oh, anyone, it says there's all kinds of.
Used to pay for the meals, mileage to come to meetings. All of these things have been discontinued. Salary has stayed pretty much the same. Now, you're bringing up Cheryl as an example. Janice, they get paid a whole lot more money than anybody on the board of supervisors.
Maybe to the conversation.
Our gas prices are the same as theirs. We don't get a discount. I'm not advocating for paying mileage to come to committee meetings or anything. I'm just saying that we've lost a lot
I think this is.
of what supervisors be paid.
Was it 10-5 back then?
So we're kind of keeping.
Cook County legislature voted to do away with their health insurance. Greg Edwards was the county executive. He was the person who ran for vice, the lieutenant governor of Carolina, you know, a number of years ago. He said, you know, I said, we spoke about it. He said, you know what? Apparently they feel it's good to devalue their worth.
Yep.
We have a lot of responsibility here.
Yeah.
Right.
174 million.
When all these other perks were in place, you know, so was the health insurance, but back then, health insurance was, you know, $20 a month.
Right.
Now you know what it is. So that is a trade-off.
But you look at what other legislators are making in surrounding counties. I mean, it's quite a bit of money.
Supervisor pays the same it was 22 years ago, wasn't it?
Pretty much.
It went up,
They went up 1,000, I think.
no, it only went up $300, because you were at like 10
Zero, I started,
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
what is it now?
10.5, I think now.
10
10 years,
That's all it is.
about nothing in 22 years.
Yeah.
And then you cut everything out,
Well, that's what I'm saying, you know,
pushing it to 200.
devaluing our
You know,
positions.
like Jerry says, I mean, if we're gonna be a player, you gotta go to the show. You know,
Right, to the.
Joe and Jerry both have been on the education council. They've been able to bring a lot of money back on different projects. Okay, well, if they weren't there, that money wouldn't have came in, but those road projects wouldn't have been done. So I mean, you gotta look at the big picture. What's it worth?
I just thought I'd bring it up.
It was my understanding, it was just the back and forth, you know, coming to the committee, not going traveling, because we weren't traveling.
That's my understanding as well.
Well, that's what I had thought too.
It was across the board. Across the
Whole thing, yeah.
It was. It was all mileage reimbursement.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I know Jerry does a lot of travel to these meetings. So,
Yeah, it shouldn't be for.
Becky, don't you?
No.
The data for the WIP meeting.
It's a lot of, I mean,
I don't look at meetings, I just never turn them, so.
I never. I never did either, like going to Glow and stuff. I never put, when we could, I didn't put in, because I figured, oh, I'm just gonna go do something else when I'm there.
But I must have misunderstood, because I thought when we did that, we imagined was for coming to committees.
let's face it, gas prices aren't any cheaper.
No, they were.
Right? Yeah, right, exactly.
And then it's rolled right into, used to be done.
Yeah.
It's when a lot.
Right,
You know, you just said,
got it.
Can we do this in committee of the whole?
Can we? vote on it? Yeah,
that's fine, that's.
Mileage reimbursement.
I think so. I mean, you've got a work section on your finance committee agenda and you've got a forum meeting, so. You know, I'm a big proponent of keeping the work that belongs to the committee within the committee it belongs to, so.
All right, well. Before motion gets made, we're kind of thinking of two different things here. All miles being put back in, which is one of the committees, the county can make for, or. I guess I'm not opposed to the idea of when you go to web or people go up, and you go to regional.
Well, there's more than that. I mean, I don't know who's the Region 9 Fish and Wildlife Board.
Right.
I mean.
DEC pays your money.
Yeah, I know.
You're in the county.
Outside of the county, when you go to a meeting outside of the county, you have to travel.
Yeah, I mean, we just had our full solid waste management meeting in Caledonia last week. And Sandy missed it.
So remember, your mileage for committee meetings is only reimbursable if they're coming from your town office.
And you go back to your town.
And you go back to your town office.
You don't go shopping in between. You just go to this meeting and you go back.
I never took a nickel for a meal. Because if I wanted to have a beer at the hotel.
Hey.
I don't want somebody saying.
Yeah.
Got to go there. So. Or any other thing, so.
Okay.
What do you do, reimburse the mileage or?
I think it's already made a motion. That was Jerry's motion to reinstate. But
You want to restate all of it or just out of county stuff?
I just, no, the out of county stuff. I mean,
that you want to word it, like reimburse supervisors their out of county travel.
yes, basically, yeah, for committee meetings or whatever.
Then you run that account.
When you're representing the county and there's quite a few different boards that we have representatives on that attend these
I gotta
meetings.
tell you this one, and I won't name the supervisor. But he got a book of order from Smitty's. And he filled them out himself. Every time. Well, he would eat lunch, but. No,
A little more than what he spent.
yeah.
Mileage, forget the meals,
Yeah, yes, yeah.
forget the meals.
There's a lot of entertainment here.
Over the years, yeah. Yeah, I just, that's my motion is the out of county travel.
Jerry, can I do like, supervisor mileage reimbursement for attending like special boards? Because what about soil and water? They meet in county. What about OFA? They meet in county. You guys, yeah, all of those. So I'm just thinking, anything other than like mileage to and from your town office to here.
Committee.
Is that right? Or anything other than the board of supervisors standing committees and
However you want to word that.
My other thing is, though, we don't pay people that we ask to be on these committees anything.
Right.
We don't give them mileage. I got somebody coming from Pike that's on the Office of the Aging Committee, it has to come down, she doesn't get anything but volunteer her time and her gas. So,
Yeah, usually when I
How do
go to
you-
those meetings, I've got other business, I'm gonna go to another. outing. And there's still a handful of those boards that you guys are appointed to that do make some mileage reimbursement, but not.
Where it gets expensive is if you're using your personal vehicle to go to like a NICEAG conference. That's where it gets expensive.
When I've taken my personal vehicle to NICEAG, I haven't bothered to put mileage in.
Right.
Yeah. But it,
Not always. I haven't in the past.
you know,
I know when I went to Intercounty at Wink. It was like a 3 hour.
Oh, yeah, you went to Wayne County, didn't you? Yeah, up in Woken.
Actually, run
I think we should start with the out of county meetings, reimbursement for that mileage. And then next year, look at maybe other things,
and include parking
right? So,
holes.
So the price of expenses was never, there was like Jerry could turn in the $20 and $25 for the intercounty itself. It was just mileage. So you could turn in, if you had an out of county meal and you would just follow the policy.
right.
And parking.
And
Parking is-
toll, two-way tolls, all of that.
It was just the law. Piece that was.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you had easy day.
All right, so.
It's expensive, though.
Jerry's motion is mileage reimbursement for everything other than use.
Yeah.
Come on.
Everybody understand that?
Mhm.
There's some supervisor if they want to put it.
Is that what you made?
No.
I couldn't.
The motion is mileage reimbursement for anything other than the standing committees of the Board of Supervisors and the regular monthly Board of Supervisors meeting.
and if you get paid from the organization, you shouldn't be putting in also double dipping,
Right?
No, no double dipping.
because like the IDA pays. So water pays,
Oh,
planning board, county planning board pays.
City Traffic Safety Board, but
they gotta meet first.
I know. That's a problem too. Another problem.
Step one.
So baby steps. Yeah, I guess.
Reimbursement, put the miles back in for, anything other than standing committees and, regular monthly budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Carry. All right, now, let's get, we're going to the top, page 17. Of transparency. Reappointing. Supervisor May.
Yes.
Representative for the county board. Supervisor Brett.
Maybe not my hand. I don't get paid a whole lot for that either, believe me.
Anyone discussing that?
But it hurts.
No, they're.
Aye.
Don't pay a whole lot of them.
Here.
Can't go
Moving
to
on to.
games or anything. Amazing.
Celebration for the-
It's dragging itself. Me too.
Oh,
We're supposed to ask questions.
I'll do 1 and 4.
Before, is there any questions on before?
Oh, we've already talked. Correct.
Yes, motion by Supervisor King. 1 through 4. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Page 18, new services off the aging. And, let's have a caregiver G. We also have a caregiver, and the secretary G, the stipends for Alzheimer's disease caregiver report and cure grant. Those are should go together. Reassigning position for dietitian. Off the agent. Any questions on all? 1, 2, 3. And motion by Supervisor Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Page 19. Preschool transportation. Appropriation for ready fund available to cover overdraft. Any questions? Grant? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 5, position fill on social services for social services program. Gotcha. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bottom of the page, public health department. Request version to amend section D. Adjustment of all grant or adjustment reimbursed by grant refund.
Yeah, these are the fellowship people.
Are there any questions? And that.
I'm moving.
Supervisor Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Page 20, appropriation 2050, increase electricity line use of unforeseen utility costs. Observe. Reproductive services.
Yeah, once they left, they were paying part of the electric.
Okay,
I'm moving.
motion by Supervisor Davis. Any more questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. County highway transfer for cover anticipated higher cost of parts, repairs and supplies. So, Spencer, any questions? Brent? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Appropriation for buildings and grounds. To,
We don't need to do this, actually, we take it to the budget office.
oh. All right, number 3, position to create, fill for temporary labor, cover FLMA. Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Page 21. Corporation, cover payroll, salaries and required. Questions on this? Motion. President Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Then public safety, position bill for the sheriff's department. Part-time deputy and then appropriation for the jail kitchen. Repair. Jail kitchen by another 2.
I'll move both.
Supervisor May, both of those, if any questions that you want. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Now, the bottom of the page, public defender.
I gotta do a whole series on
A whole series of them.
Mhm.
Bill, public defender,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
4, 5, 7, 8, 9.
I'll move them.
Motion by Supervisor May, any questions on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Carried.
go one more page.
And back page,
District Attorney,
District Attorney for the Sniper.
I'll move that too.
Yeah, motion by Supervisor May, any questions on this one? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? That carries.
did you
Is
hear
there anything else for
Holmes
finance?
after my
Um,
meeting?
one thing I'm gonna throw
No,
out,
did she come?
we gotta get survey.
That was the end of it.
the county administrator.
Did you see the email that she sent out?
What did they have?
Nor,
We're gonna discuss it.
well, she came in the meeting. She requested it
On the 20th.
in the session. I thought she was going to speak about this, you know, position. Money, but
Review that.
Bitch.
she started bad mouth in the head.
Well, I do back on.
Nice meeting you. Back like 19.
Norm, Beckman,
I did read the
Leah,
email.
were in the room. Yeah. I
And
wanted them to be able to speak up.
Answer,
She was like, "Yeah." I shut her right now. I said, we are not here to listen to that.
And, contract rate.
I don't care. That's not what that was all about. She was. Oh, yeah, big deal. And you know what? Give me the proof. They're not.
Survey.
I was.
Does it cost money?
Does it cost money?
uh,
Every year, like, every time we went to a different way to get it out, it stopped, $300.
Yep.
One of the ways, stopped for 60 days.
So we used to use them at school until they started charging.
Was gonna give. her-
Now you pay. That's what I did.
I have, I,
39 more survey.
but that's.
All right, anything else for finance?
Right, one thing, so the nice act board of directors meeting.
Yeah.
And the volunteer in the fire and emergency services problem is not just unique to Wyoming County. Wayne County, the county administrator, are going to take over the entire county, $10 million.
Mentioned that too.
And they've got outline contracts like, you know, like Arcade does with Freedom and with Farmersville. So they bump into Monroe County, so you can imagine what a buzz all that is. So, yeah,
It's like they're.
yeah.
I-
EMS, no, just EMS.
Yeah,
Out.
I was discussing with the gentleman from Chautauqua County, who also told me they took over their EMS operations. We're told at the time that it would be levy neutral, you know, that the money that they would make, he said, never happened, never happened.
Not true.
Not true.
Okay, so we were adjourned.
We are adjourned, I think.
Okay, so. Unless we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Here's a couple.
There's my.
I got a date.
Not
Anybody wants? Put out a.
All that's.
He's good. He was doing it. Anybody?
No.
I'll probably. He's got a-
That.
That's it. Okay. I know it was. And every time we go, he gets pissed.
You're fine, sit down. Because it is different, it's a different world.
It is.
Unfortunately, fortunate or unfortunate.
Well, we have, there's a learning curve. I don't know how to use this place. Know you to get it.
It's different.